Call this meeting together at 6:05. We'll start out with my traditional condolences to the families that have lost members of their family during the last month. Percy Blackmore, William Hawkins, Elizabeth Perry, Harry Boothby, and Brian Johnson, and our thoughts and condolences go out to their families. We'll be saying a different prayer tonight, and we're going to be doing that on occasion, changing around. Tonight we're going to say the Lord's Prayer. Most people have it memorized. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Good to do that? Okay. I would ask if there are any pecuniary interests to be disclosed.
Yes, I have one for agenda item 7-3, the Rogers Cell Tower proposal.
I have one as well for 10-6 library appointments.
Moved by Chris Olmsted, seconded by Charlene Jackson, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region adopts the agenda for the regular council meeting of February 18th, 2015. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Moved by Chris Olmsted, seconded by Charlene Jackson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region adopts the minutes of the January 21st regular council meeting. Everybody's been over them. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Moved by Chris Olmsted, seconded by Charlene Jackson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the attached schedule of general purpose accounts in the amount of $400,618.73 for the period of November 29th to December 31st, 2014, and that the above accounts be paid. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Moved by Darrell McLaughlin, seconded by Chris Olmsted, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the attached schedule of general purpose accounts in the amount of $271,287.97 and water fund accounts in the amount of $2,784.38 for the period January 1st to 31st, 2015, and that the above accounts be paid. Discussion? Reeve,
Yeah,
Miller?
just a quick question for clarification. I'm just, this is just a curiosity thing. Kevin Collins, Direct Express, 462703, twice this month. I'm just curious, what is it, is that a regular deal, or I'm just curious what it is?
That would-
Steve, can you answer that? Our treasurer is not with us tonight, and I don't process the...
It's not important tonight that she's
Find
doing.
out.
That's what you call it, Direct Express? Okay, no problem. So that's twice monthly at that? That's how it's paid?
I'll check that.
Yeah, I was just curious because it's the same amount twice in the month, and I figured it was something like that, but I could have got that tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Chris? Councillor Chris?
Just on quick math, based on what the proposals are, that would be right. It'd be bi-weekly.
Thanks, Councillor Olmsted. Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. I'd like to introduce Mayor Bob Sweet from the from Petawawa Township, and Councillor at the County of Renfrew, and he's here to speak about the CP corridor mainly.
Yep.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, Mr. Reeve, members of Whitewater Council. Pleased to be with you this evening and give you an update and an overview. I'm joined by the Director of Development and Property from the County of Renfrew, Paul Morrow. I wanted to talk to you a little bit and give you an overview and an update as to where we are with the CP rail acquisition. Starting back a little bit, just to give you a bit of background, back in 1997, a resolution was put in place by the County of Renfrew that, and I'll paraphrase rather than get into the whole document, that indicated that if and when rail lines became abandoned, that every effort should be made by the County of Renfrew to acquire those rights of way to be used for transportation links or rights of ways for trails, etc., within the County of Renfrew. Based on that and a subsequent resolution in 2011, I was put in, somehow or other got in charge of acquiring this particular workload, and my mandate is to get an agreement in principle, a memorandum of understanding to acquire the rail bed, and I'll talk a little bit about the background of that with you. The memorandum of understanding involves three municipalities. One is the County of Lanark, the other one is the County of Renfrew, and the one to the west is Papineau-Cameron. The three involved, and that's not to suggest that that's all that will be involved with this. Our mandate is, as I say, to acquire the assets of the right-of-way for CP Rail for the benefit of everyone along the rail bed, and in fact for those in Renfrew County. Just give you a little bit of background on this particular situation. As you know, Ottawa Valley Rail ran this as an active rail line up to about 5 years ago, and decided not to renew the lease. That defaulted back to the owner of the property, which is CP Rail. CP Rail was not interested in running it, and we in the Ottawa Valley tried valiantly to keep that open as a viable rail, and without success. We approached the federal government to see if there was any interest in that, and there wasn't. And so it got down to the point where the CP Rail were going to declare this abandoned and put it up for sale and dispose of the assets. It's taken a little while to get to where we are today, and that's not through any negligence on our part. As you can appreciate, it takes a little bit of while to go through the various steps required under Transport Canada to get to where you are today. For example, when you declare it abandoned, you have to go through the various federal agencies, federal government agencies or departments to find out if there's any interest in by those various agencies to see if they're interested in running the line as a railroad, or in fact are they interested in the assets. And it takes a while to go through that, and it took some time, about a year, to simply find out that no, they were not. It then goes to the next level of government, which is the province of Ontario, and the similar type thing happens, and it trickles down, or a domino effect, and it gets down to where we are today with the county of Renfrew. And the county of Renfrew and the county of Lanark and Papineau-Cameron indicated that they were interested in taking a look and trying to acquire those assets. Just so that you have an understanding of the magnitude of this, I think we've got some numbers up there. From Smith Falls all the way to just this side of Mattawa is 2,456 acres of land, 187.7 miles in length, 302 kilometers. The overall length or width of the track varies from fence to fence, from approximately 90 feet, and there's some areas that are much larger than that, places that used to have train stations that have slightly larger areas. There are 25 bridges and 9 underpasses. A large body of trail to accommodate and try and get some sort of ideas as to how we can acquire this. One of the interesting parts with this is that when I took the job, they indicated that we can't use any municipal money to acquire it. I'm not Harry Houdini, but in order to do this, there will be some injections of funds. Just to give you an idea of, again, of where the land lies in terms of the various partners that we have in place at this point in time. 16.3% of the land is in the county of Lanark. There's a small portion in the city of Ottawa, 1.9, but vast majority of it, 71.5% of it, is within the county of Renfrew. 1.2% of the overall length of the line is in the city of Pembroke, and you see the far top of your screen, 8.9% of it is within Papineau-Cameron. What have we got for the next one? So there's a bigger picture, an overview of it from Smith Falls all the way up into as I say, just the site of Mattawa. We've been meeting on a very regular basis with the team to hammer out the various issues that are involved with this. All that to say that if we can get this line in place, it would represent a major backbone within a trail system within Eastern Ontario. The green one that you see there is a Trans-Canada Trail, linking with a slight variance up at the very top, about 80 kilometers, and that's from North Bay to Mattawa, or approximately 80 kilometers. If we can connect that link, we would have a complete circle around Eastern Ontario, as you can see, up through all of the various counties within Eastern Ontario. And even when you hook in just outside of Ottawa, it takes you into the province of Quebec. So it's a very important initiative that we're trying to put together for the betterment of the county of Renfrew. You see another bunch of trails there. You get the waterfront trail, which is a trail that stretches all the way from Cornwall and goes up into Lake Erie and all the way around. It's a huge initiative that we could connect to and be very much a part of it. When you see it all together, and we'll show you some other connections on there that are coming up at this point in time. Once we put it all together and it connects to all of the various links that you see there, there's some 4,700 kilometers of trails, and the thing that's missing is the backbone, and that would be the CP rail line, which is 187 miles or 302 kilometers. That in itself is a very, very large trail within the Eastern Ontario. What you see there, though, are in the dark gray areas are the local trails that are currently in place. And I can tell you, right now there is a huge interest in trails. Most municipalities are looking at trails in some form or another, 8 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers in length, mountain bike trails, walking trails. The whole active transportation issue is very, very hot right now. You can see one trail that we've got here, and that's the KMP trail. I want to talk just a little bit about the importance of the continuity of keeping the CP rail in one continuous strip. We put the KMP trail up there for a reason, because the KMP is the Kingston, Pembroke rail line. And it is not possible to run that all the way down into Kingston anymore, because a portion of that many years ago was sold just about 10 kilometers south of where it is right now. And it's virtually impossible, and well, it cannot be done. It cannot be joined. And so the continuity of the KMP trail has been destroyed because a portion of it was sold. So it's very, very important that we do everything that we can, should we be successful in acquiring the CP rail corridor, to keep it in one continuous strip, and just how important it is. What's the next one, Paul? Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance is heading out of Tweed and Belleville. And here again, you can see where all of that intertwines with all of the various other trails that are in Eastern Ontario. Huge, as I say, 4,700 kilometers in trails. The yellow one is something that we're just recently working on, that has become available, and we've been talking to some partners with that one, and we had a meeting the other day to see what we can do to acquire the assets of that, and that is the CN line, and they're very interested in moving that one as well into local hands. I think that's fair to say, and I think there's a fair amount of interest around the table that we put a team together and had a chat about it, and we're going to try and coordinate that to see if we can acquire that as well. So what has happened? There's been an appraisal done of the corridor that was done in March 2014. Before you can go ahead and make any offers, of course, you have to know exactly what is worth. I'm not sure whether we can release that information to you at this point in time, but certainly it's in the millions. The asset is worth multi-millions of dollars at this point in time. The day is gone, quite frankly, where you get these things for $1. They just won't do that anymore. These are corporations that are now in the business to make money, and we are trying very hard to get the best possible deal that we can get, and we're getting close, quite frankly. So we've had, as I say, many meetings, both here and down in Lanark and so forth. We've had a number of tours, and this just gives you a flavor of some of the areas that we went on tour with. We don't necessarily want to reinvent the wheel here. The wheel has been invented by others. You've heard about the Grey Bruce trail system, and these are some of the sites that we saw when we were on a trail meeting just the other day. Of interest is the one up in the top left-hand corner, because we heard constantly about the impact that trails have in close proximity to rural and suburban and even in urban environments. Well, this one goes right by an urban subdivision, and from what we can gather talking to the folks in the Grey Bruce, there's no issues with that situation at all. A lot of the trails can be controlled by gates as far as usage is concerned. And what you're looking at in most of these, and all of those pictures, quite frankly, is a former rail bed. And those rail beds were 4 or 5 years ago covered in heavy black slag. You can walk on them, you can bicycle on them. You wouldn't know when you're there that they are in actual fact former rail beds. And just how sensitive our walking corridors, etc. The one in the left corner is an interesting one, and I play a little bit of golf, and that one runs right by the third tee and the golf course in Owen Sound. And there's nobody more fidgety than golfers, let me tell you. And there's ATVs and bicycles go by there on a regular basis, and they do not disturb any of the golfers. They accept them as for what they are. Many connecting links that you see in the Grey Bruce Trail. That's the Tom Thompson Trail that down in the bottom left-hand corner. And again, the economic spin-off on this is just quite remarkable. The cost of maintaining it in Grey Bruce is done through the county of Bruce, and it's $75,000 a year that they inject through the gasoline tax into the conservation area, the conservation group. They're the ones who manage that. It's fair to say that we haven't gotten to that point yet as far as a governance model is concerned. We're more concentrating on acquiring the assets at this time. But that might give you a bit of a flavor of the Grey Bruce Trail. Now, in Grey Bruce, there are parts of it that they do want to see motorized vehicles, and they are controlled by gates. And it seemed to work very, very well. And one of the things that we ask constantly is complaints, concerns, that type of thing. And it was not coming through to us at all that there were many complaints at all. Quite the reverse. Some folks were actually looking at acquiring a home near the trail so they could get to it in close proximity to it. So it's very well received in Grey Bruce. Paul, you can talk a little bit of the KMP. My voice is going a little bit.
Sure. Hey, the reason we put this slide in is essentially we do have some experience with trails in Renfrew County. We own 21 kilometers currently managed by the County of Renfrew. The Forestry and GIS Division manage this piece of trail. Essentially it runs from the town of Renfrew right through to Calabogie Peak. So Mayor Sweet mentioned it before that the piece of causeway that runs around Calabogie Lake was sold off at one point, and unfortunately that presents a challenge for continuing that on to Kingston. But again, the point is we're not new to this business, and we do have this small piece. Again, like Mayor Sweet says, 302 kilometers is a significant larger chunk than 21 kilometers, but we've had some exposure to managing trails in the past. So,
Okay, thank you. So using really the lessons that we've learned from Hastings, Grey County, and the KMP trail experience, and we're negotiating at this point in time with CP for the future operations. I don't want it to be seen as a closed door. My mandate is to acquire the asset. That's it. Once we get the asset, then that's when the hard work will take place. There will be a huge amount of public engagement and transparency on this whole process in terms of how and where and how we intend to manage this asset. We want to have clear title to the land, and we have been assured that when that happens, when the transfer is taken place, then there will be clear title. In fact, CP is currently working on that as we speak. Full disclosure of all assets and asset conditions, and in favor of CP, they have disclosed all of the assets and the conditions, both environmental and the actual condition of the bridges and the underpasses. We are asking for the transfer of all leases that are involved with this particular situation, and that may be a sticking point with CP. But very much the bottom one is very, very important, and that will be partnerships. This is not going to be run necessarily by the County of Renfrew. It'll be run by a consortium as yet to be determined. But as I say, my mandate is simply to acquire the assets at this point in time. So there's a little bit of some of the, we did what they call a what do you call that thing? High rail tour, yes. That's the vehicle that you see, the half-ton with that's before they removed the rails. And then we went through from Smith Falls and so forth, and that just gives you some ideas of some of the areas that we went through. The one right in the center is going over the Petawawa River from the actual CP rail bridge. That's the snowmobile bridge that you see there. Highway 7 is the one on the left, as I understand it. Almont on the right, Haley Station on the bottom right, and Bonnechere River. That gives you an idea of some of them. And Paul, you'll need to help me on them.
sure. So the top left, that's the train yard at Smith Falls. The middle one, Abbotston Bromley Farmlands. The top right would be the right through the base. So the rail corridor does go through the base, and the base has been very open-minded about allowing the trail to continue through the base. It may not be on the exact same location because of some security issues, but they would be
So, next steps, we're hoping to sign an agreement in principle with CPR very shortly, just to give you a sense also of what's happened up to this point in time. They have indicated to us that the land is free, or clear, if you wish, from Smith Falls to the bottom of Meath Hill, a distance of 90 miles, and that would be phase one that we would be looking at, and we're negotiating with them on that particular phase one at this point in time. Then there'll be a phase two moving forward. By that I mean that phase one is completely clear as far as the land is concerned. The signals are gone, the crossings are all gone, etc. All of the assets that CP want have been taken out, so it's free and clear for us to negotiate. So that's phase one that we're dealing with. We're hoping by this time next year we'll be in a position to come and tell you that we have an agreement in principle, and then, as I say, the hard work begins. So I hope that gives you a bit of an idea of what's happened within the corridor at this point in time. It's a very, very large piece of business that we're dealing with here. All that to say that CP is very, very, very cooperative and working well with us on this whole asset, and the economic spin-off of that is quite substantial. Snow Country, for example, on the CN, spent some of the $250,000 on some of their initiatives this past year. So a lot of interest out there, a lot of money available to enhance the tourism opportunities within the county of Renfrew.
Thanks, Mayor Bob. Any questions from council? Councillor Mackay.
The federal government can't give you any hand on that. All that land was given to the federal private.
Well, all I'll say to that, Councillor, at this point in time is that the federal government will be very actively involved in one way or another as far as allowing us to access the property. As far as direct cash is concerned, that's something that we are trying to get a meeting with our federal member with to see if we can get some perhaps operating funding with that. As far as actually buying the line, all I'll say is that the federal government will be involved in a way that I can't really talk to you about at this point in time, but they will be involved with that. I'm not trying to be evasive, just...
No.
Okay.
Councillor Olmsted.
The current portion of the K&P, is it promoted through any tourism associations or Ottawa Valley Tourism, or how are we promoting the current trail system now?
Well, we meet on a regular basis. When I say we, again, somehow or other I get involved with another trail, but as Chair of Development and Property, that falls within the mandate of the Development and Property. And yes, we do push it, and it is promoted through the Kick and Push is one of the famous ones that they've got going down there. It's very well used, and we spend about $20,000 a year maintaining it. And it's a valuable asset down in that part of the world. And yes, ATVs are on there, snowmobiles are on there. It is very well used, and again, it's controlled by gates, etc. But we meet on a regular basis just as you say, Councillor, is to promote that particular portion. Yep.
Thank you, Chair. And through you, Mayor, to Councillor Olmsted. The OVTA is also a component of the Economic Development Division, and so that's featured when they go to the Toronto Outdoor Show, the Ottawa Outdoor Show, the Snowmobile Show, all those events that we go, those brochures around the K&P Trail go out with those folks when they're doing that touring around. So again, the K&P Trail is also part of the provincial snowmobile trail system as well.
Just wondering who carries the liability in this case, like with Grey County, who's carrying the liability in the event of accidents or...
Well, it would be the county.
It would be the county? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And again, just before you jump, policing would be another issue that would be taken care of by the local authority that would be involved with it. I should point out something to you that we found out, and I don't know whether you're familiar with this or not. Certainly the treasurer would be interested in hearing this. There's been a change in the way the assessment has been done on the KNP, or on abandoned rail lines. And we're trying to find out if it's on all rail lines or not. In the past, and up to 2014, payments in lieu of taxes were assessed at $85.06 an acre. In 2015, that's going to change, and it's going to go to a straight assessment. And the assessment will be based on 80% of the assessment value as far as an abandoned rail line is concerned, and it will be taxed at commercial vacant, which is a completely different set of rules that have been in place up to this point in time. It's quite substantial. I don't know what it is within Whitewater, but I make you aware of this situation. For example, in the town of Petawawa, we have 9 kilometers going through there. I think it's 38 acres, something of that nature. We were in the past getting $5,600 in payments in lieu of taxes. Under the new system, we get $132. So it goes down substantially. So if you've got a lot of abandoned rail line within Whitewater in terms of acreage, I make you aware of the fact that there has been a change with the way that they have put in place the assessment for abandoned rail lines. I'm not sure if that's just for abandoned rail lines or whether it's in fact for rail corridors as a whole. We're trying to find that out. But it is a substantial switch or change to taxation as we know it.
I believe it's just with regards to abandoned railways, so when the railway line itself has been removed and it has been abandoned. But as far as I know, in 2014, we did have a small change in LV where it was assessed differently. We have 2 rail lines there. One was assessed at $85 per acre, and the other was assessed as an assessment. So I haven't seen the change for 2015 yet. It's still as an acreage for the one that was existing.
Yeah. Well, my understanding, Councillor, is that it will go to MPAC assessment, and in the case of the town of Petawawa, it's $38,000 at the commercial vacant rate, which reflects as opposed to $5,600. So it's a substantial decrease, although it's not a lot of money. It's still money, but universally throughout the county, it's quite a hit. Okay.
No other questions? I'd like to thank Mayor Bob Sweet for answering all the questions. I'm going to make one comment, and I'm going to ask one question. And the comment that I have is, on Monday morning I started out at Sherbert Lake and I ran the KNP to kick and push right to Calabogie, then went all the way around. Quite a detour to get into Calabogie and then into Renfrew. And I can see how important it is for family entertainment and all the different things that the county and all the townships want to have these lines for. How important it is not to have it broke up. It is key not to have it broke up. And I appreciate all the work you're doing and the county is doing. My question, I want to take liberty. You get to have liberties, right, Mayor Bob? Every once in a while. I'm going to ask you one question, and it's off the CP subject, and it is, as far as you're aware, the purchase of the land to continue the 417 from, I guess where Bonnechere Excavating is finishing their, or in that area where they're finishing their contract to Meath Hill, has that land all been purchased and ready to go, to your knowledge, or is it not purchased?
It's my understanding they're trying to acquire the land at this point in time, but it, as I understand it, has not been completed, so that would allow them to go forward and continue the expansion coming from the east to going west. So, no, I understand they're in the process of acquiring the land, but it hasn't been finalized as I understand it.
Thank you very much. That then requires that we stay on top of that for the future of 417. And thank you for your comments. I really appreciate your coming to council and updating us on the CP line. Is very informative and very important. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you.
We have a delegation with Kathy Williamson and her entourage. There are more seats, ladies, right in front if you wish to bring them. There's no need to stand. Kathy, you may want to stand. Yes.
What I would ask you to do, that microphone also comes out of the holder, but whoever's speaking, because we now record our you won't be picked up, just pull it out. You won't be picked up on the recording either.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, good evening. Thanks very much for the opportunity to speak with you today. And congratulations to all of you. It's the first time I've seen you since the election, so way to go. My name is Kathy Williamson. I'm from Westmeath. And there's a delegation here this evening of Whitewater seniors. Doreen McNair is the president of the Westmeath seniors. Sheila Broom represents the seniors from Foresters Falls, Queens Line. Where are we? Here we are. Heather Campbell is from Beachburg. Joanne Schaefer from the Cobden area. She's the president of the Cobden Seniors. And we have a short presentation. I think you all have this copy. So we have a few words to address to you prior to any discussion, and we'd like your questions to fill this out. So I'll pass this to Sheila Broom.
Last year, with the assistance of a New Horizons for Seniors grant, a number of activities began in our region that encouraged the health and wellness of the Whitewater seniors. The grant project culminated in a seniors community variety show that was a big hit. Over 50 seniors from across the township were involved directly in writing scripts, acting, singing, dancing, set design and construction, publicity, and hostessing. Because of the grant funding, we were able to designate significant money to publicity, transportation of residents from the nursing homes, catering of food at the performances, lighting and sound, set construction, videotaping, and a cast post-production party. The entire production with all the extras totaled $11,510.12. Because the production benefited so many and was such a success, drawing over 400 participants as audience, many asked that we would do another show this year. With the encouragement and some financial support of the Westmeath Riverview Seniors Club, we have begun to work towards another production, which we would like to stage in late May 2015. However, this year's show would be on a smaller scale, without some of the extras the grant monies were able to provide.
One of the very valuable experiences of last year that we would like to repeat was the transportation of many seniors from nursing homes in the area. The director of one of the homes acknowledged what a wonderful experience this was for residents whose spirits were lifted by the laughter and joy the show provided. Just to get out to such an activity allowed many seniors from different homes who no longer see each other to be reunited. The energy in the hall during the matinee performance was truly amazing, so much so that our club has voted to pay part of the transportation costs for these residents again this year. Last year's production brought in approximately 400 as audience over 2 days. A number of people had to be turned away at the door so as to not exceed hall regulations. The nursing home seniors and their staff workers attended the show for free. Others paid $5 a ticket, which allowed us as seniors to donate $1,300 to the Pembroke Hospital MRI Fund for the benefit of all of us in our region.
And we are submitting the budget. You all have a copy of the budget, do you? Okay. For you to see, and I think you've all had time to look at it briefly anyway. Ticket sales will be $10 a person. and we want to continue to provide free entertainment for the nursing home residents. But this year, we're going to add a third performance. Now, by that I mean, last year we just had, we had the nursing home one on a Tuesday, and then we had one for the general public on the Wednesday. This year, we want to have two for the general public. So if all the tickets are sold for the 2 nights, the potential revenue would be 300 times the $10 would be $3,000.
We are here this evening, hopefully for a one-time request for funds from you, our Whitewater Council. We recognize that you provide funds in each of the jurisdictions for recreation. We're not sure of the total amounts, but we understand that a $14,500 grant is given annually to each of the arenas in our region for recreation. These monies go to maintaining rink facilities, which of course are costly. We are here requesting that this new council broaden the notion of recreation beyond hockey rinks to include the arts. Designate monies annually for the arts, monies for which any age group may apply, and to contribute $2,500 for this year only to help with the production of the Whitewater Seniors 2015 Comedy Variety Show.
And that's our presentation. So we are open to your questions, and Sheila O'Brien from Beachburg will also be available to answer questions. I'm sure you have tons of them. Costs.
Okay, and this is your...
This is
you
our...
3,000, you only need 2330.
Oh, you potluck. Excuse me. Is that my outside voice? Sorry, Dave.
That's all right.
There are a couple of things. You know, we can't assume, too, right off the bat that we can sell all the tickets. We could probably slide in a few more people if we had to, but we're going to be cautious on the side of bringing in some money at this point for $3,000. We don't know totally what all our expenses are. We took last year's and we tried to hone them right down to the bare necessities to put on a decent production, a quality production, though. Okay, we're not just pretty faces.
Not a fly-by-night show.
No, not at all.
I don't think I read anywhere, I may have missed it. Where is it being held?
The Westmeath Hall.
At the Westmeath?
Yeah, we held it there last year, and at this point, that's the biggest hall and the one that has potential for lighting, etc. And it worked last year.
Okay, and actually, I've got 2 other questions to go along with that. The $11,000 comment. What was the $11,000? Was it funding you received, or what was
Yes.
it?
Yes, it was monies from the grant. We received, but through the New Horizons for Seniors grant, that was through the Community Health Center Board. We applied for that, and we received $28,000 to offer recreation. The title of the thing was involving rural seniors in the arts and recreation in Whitewater.
Okay, and so did you apply for that again, or is it not available?
No, we can't apply for it again. We can't apply right now, and you can't have the same kind of activities if you do apply for another New Horizons grant. And we also didn't have the energy to turn around and apply right away anyway. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Councillor Jackson?
I'll ask Christine this. In the past few years, has there been any support in the arts rather than just recreation? Has there been any funds set aside or given to any other groups with regards to arts, museums?
Other than the Foresters Falls Museum grant, again, this isn't necessarily my area. I'd have to talk to the treasurer about this, but to my recollection, there really hasn't been a request. And what I would like to suggest to you is that we've received many requests for funding from various different groups, that this particular request go along with the rest of them into the budget cycle and be discussed in the appropriate line item. But certainly I'll look into that and get a more fulsome answer for you.
Councillor McLaughlin?
I'll direct this to Kathy. Has there been any thought to move it to different spots in the township?
There has been thought, no action yet, Darrell, because when we create a set and we rent lights, it's difficult for us to transport, and that would be a whole other. I would prefer that we find ways to transport people so that our set can stay up. We're not that great yet, so yes.
Yeah.
But eventually, when you provide us a truck and all of those things, we'll be touring the whole county.
Can I just say, I think you're wrong. I think it was great last year. It was excellent. It was well done. I thoroughly enjoyed it myself. My wife did, and it was great. And like I said, I was thinking like if it could get moved to a place like Cobden, which is a bigger area, would give you more people. That's where I was coming from. But I understand what you're telling me as well.
And Darrell, the only problem with that, I mean, it would be a great idea. However, because we know this hall, we're able, Wednesdays are senior days, and we don't pay rent to our WDRA for Wednesdays. So we use that day for practices. And so what's been happening, and today was a gathering, it was incredible. People from Cobden and people from Foresters Falls and people from Beachburg and La Paz and Westmeath all gathering at the Soup and Sandwich, and then a practice afterwards. There's incredible spirit going on, and I tell you that last year when we started our first practice, we were about this level in terms of confidence and all of the things, and this year we were here already, so God knows what the show's going to be. Down the road, it could happen. I think the major thing that we want is that you would recognize that recreation would include the arts. So there are lots of young people and older people who do not take part in things at the rink. So we're asking you to take some leadership in that regard to broaden that understanding of recreation to include the arts. So that little kids might have dance classes, big old seniors might have dance classes, etc.
Councillor right here.
What I like about this group is you're all working together and you're coming from every different region of the township, and that is a great thing because we're all striving here to become one Whitewater, and I think the movement that you have going is definitely going to go a long ways with that. And I guess my question is if we can put this until budget time to see where we could fit this, will that give you enough time for your production?
We know you're going to give us the money, so we're going ahead. We're working on this already. Hopefully there's some money there to support us for now, and we will take it forward, okay? We will look at other things if you can't, but we will whine.
Thank you.
The play is Laugh Louder, Live Longer.
Wonderful.
Okay? Thank you for your time.
Any other questions from council? Go ahead.
Sorry, just one other comment further to Councillor Mackay. If you do an estimated audience of 400 at $10, it's now 4,000, so now you're looking for $1,330.
Yeah. Keep going, boys. But then you will be the ones that will sell the tickets, right? Anyway, and we really do want to keep the Tuesday afternoon free for people in the residence homes. You know, the biggest thing that really tweaked my heart last year, I was one of the MCs, as a little old lady, I came up the aisle and I said, "Oh, is it ever good to see ya?" And this little lady said to me, "And is it ever good to be seen?" And it just kind of, you know, ripped the old heart. So we really want to be able to bring the people that are in the homes into the hall. Now that I've got you all wiping tears, we will leave you to your wonderful business.
I would like you to thank you for coming and making the presentation. If laughing longer, laugh louding and louder, living longer. See, I can't be in the play. I just want you to know that's why. I enjoyed the presentation as much as ever I have, and I want to voice my support to your group and to the senior citizens throughout our municipality for taking a leadership in unity. I think it's absolutely great. Thank you. like to move ahead for the presentation from Mr. Belchamber on the Rogers Tower. And at this time, I believe you were leaving. You may go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council. Based on the meeting last week and the feedback that was received from the community, we've been able to find a candidate on the eastern side of the town. Essentially on just off of County Road 7. I did send through a document. You've likely all seen the new location. I was able to have some coverage plots prepared that indicate the existing coverage and the poor coverage in the vicinity as it stands. And by placing the 105-meter tower where we hope to do now off of County Road 7, we'll be able to meet our coverage objectives. I'm wondering if Council has any questions about the new location, any concerns?
Any Council questions? Councillor Regier?
Yeah, I just wanted to double check, Eric, that with this new location, that strip of highway will no longer be a dead zone, that you will have that coverage in that area.
That's correct. One of the pages of the presentation I sent through had to do with coverage plots in terms of before and after. And that way, in color imagery, you can see the existing coverage identified as before, with the big yellow swath on the lake and some of the green area along the highway. And with the new location, it's bolstered significantly. And yes, it would eliminate any dead spots throughout this whole region.
Okay, that was my only concern. Thank you.
I had discussed briefly last week the kind of 2-kilometer area of coverage. That really just had to do with the most ideal coverage. It's not that we need towers every 2 kilometers. It's that within that 2-kilometer radius, it's the most ideal coverage, and it degrades from there. Okay.
This location, should our 417 highway expansion go through, it would be in an ideal situation to cover it in its new location. And I appreciate, because that was my comment last time, was why can't we go east? I really appreciate what you have come up with there, and I believe that this has solved all of the problems that I'm aware of from the public. I give you great respect for going to for us dealing with the public first instead of last. That's the way it's supposed to be done.
Understood. I think that all of our needs can be met by having it at this new location. I had to twist some arms in Brampton to make them see the light, but I think that we're in a position to move forward successfully.
Yeah. Reeve Miller.
Yeah, Eric. Aside from the tower, I would think that's a great idea too. It's a good place for it, I think. There's concern in the area, and this is a little off topic of that tower, but would you like to comment on how we as a municipality could improve our cell service in the Westmeath, Beachburg, LaPlace area, because we really need that out there. We've got some big events coming out there, no cell service. We'd like someone to maybe even show us if there's a temporary service for some things going out there this summer. Our business developer here tells me that it is very, very important that we work to fix that problem out there. So your comments would be appreciated. Thank you.
Certainly. How far away from this region are we talking about for those events?
Just across the river. We're across the lake.
No, it's about 12 kilometers to the biggest dead spot. I believe.
How much?
Right. Maybe we could get Andrew to comment on this. He has been working with some of the problems with dead zones throughout that area, I believe.
Cell service is something that in Beachburg, Westmeath, LaPlace, I think a lot of people are just it's quite normal. So in our lives, we don't see that we're missing it as much. But if I want to bring in businesses from other areas where their cell service is quite adequate, and a lot of business owners, they carry their cell phone, and it's their most important tool. So when they come to the area, they need to use that tool. They may come to our area, and I'll sell them on our township for everything it has, and they may notice that one thing they don't have, which is cell service. So it's very important. Right there.
I'd be happy to identify to the planning department in Brampton the fact that there's likely a strong business case for a tower in that area. I'm responsible for a whole swath of this province, and that falls under my purvey. For various events, there are what are called cell on wheels. They're referred to as cows, and they're a mobile trailer that has an arm that extends, it telescopes up, and it provides coverage for various temporary events. Depending on the timing, I'd be happy to inquire as to whether or not one is available for some of these events. It depends, of course, on the number of attendees and a whole bunch of other factors. They're not inexpensive to deploy, but based on demand, it could be something that we definitely look at.
I would recommend that you contact Andrew because there is a World Kayaking event that is happening this September, late August, early September, and we certainly could well use that kind of service from Rogers. I know he's been in contact with regards to Wi-Fi, but certainly cell phone service is also an issue. I don't know if he's contacted anybody with regards to cell service or not, or if it was just Wi-Fi at the time. But definitely you're looking at Wilderness Tours area, Grant Settlement Road area, which is River Run Owl rafting. If we had cell service down there, it certainly, I mean, it's attractive to the tourism industry already, but we do get a lot of people attending those rafting companies in the summertime and are mostly from the cities, and they all bring cell phones with them, and I know they are on vacation, but they do have, and Andrew could probably give you the numbers as far as the number of tourists that attend that area, so it would be very helpful.
Okay, noted.
Just want to talk about Beachburg Fair. 10,000 people, but we've been trying to sell tickets online, and when we try to verify the tickets, we had a lot of trouble with cell phone, just having a little a mobile unit. We had a lot of trouble doing it, and we'd like to correct that.
Okay.
And there's 10,000 people come to our fair, so it's the best fair. Did I mention that? Okay, just saying.
Okay, noted.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and if you want to stay in touch with Andrew with you, we'll work this through, and we can get that back to us.
Just to sum things up, is there a motion at this point that council would provide? Yes?
Moved by Charlene Jackson, seconded by Darrell McLaughlin. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region supports in principle the Rogers Cell Tower proposal, February 18th, 2015. All those in favor? Opposed, if any?
I think maybe there's a discussion first.
Okay.
After the motion.
Okay.
Am I wrong? And I'm wondering, on the only reason I'm going to ask for consensus that maybe I see Mr. Sturt sitting here in the audience. If he has any, would like to come up and speak, because he came the last time. So I wondered if we could have consensus that maybe Mr. Sturt could come up and see if this does solve some of his problems.
Can I just ask Mr. Stewart if he's okay? Simple yes or no, just to start off.
Well, if he's in favor of the motion, then I guess there's no need for consensus for him to come and speak.
We have to have a vote, Dave, in order. If it's going to be still affirmative, can we just leave it at that for now? Okay, we'll leave it at that for now. If you're all right with that, Councillor McLaughlin, we'll go back to the vote.
I'm quite confident in that, yes.
All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried.
Just that it's been very cold this January, February. Easy on the salt, but it's been hard on the equipment. So other than that, nothing else to add this time.
I just want to say, nice job on Fletcher Road with that machine. Looks good.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It works pretty good.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised. Good work. Surprised that machine. Never seen that machine work before.
No, it's good. It's you just got to watch traffic. That's why we have to have spotters on both ends. You know, a lot of heavy debris does fly from it, but it works good. Makes short work of the brush for sure.
If you'd pass on to your crew, I've seen them out there working feverishly this week in Beachburg, getting all the streets cleared and everything winged back, and they did a fantastic job. So if you would just pass that on.
Certainly.
I think if you drive around some municipalities and some of our local cities, our streets look very good compared.
Thank you.
So,
I'll pass it along.
thank you.
Yeah, to further that comment, maybe because now I'm on council, I hear comments almost daily about how good our region looks. And in fact, I had a couple of suggestions that we take over the highway.
I work enough hours now. I don't need more.
Thanks.
No problem. Thank you.
Doug, Building Department.
Good evening, everyone. Any questions on my report?
The tender issue comes up a little further along in the agenda package.
If there's no questions, that's okay with me.
We'll bring you back. And, yeah. Environmental Services, Steve Hodson.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions about my report?
I have, I'm good with it. Good.
And also just one further comment as well in new unfinished business, section 12-11. Steve will be coming back to talk to us again when we get into the curbside waste collection, curbside recycling discussion about the tender award.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, I just saw the note about the no smoking signs provided by Renfrew County Health.
Yes.
So do we have a plan in place to identify all buildings or areas these need to be put in and make sure we kind of tick the box on all those?
The plan is in my head. We were informed that we have to put these up. The county supplied them, and when it warms up a bit, I just have to go out and start putting them up. Well, basically it's just for outdoor rinks, ball fields, playgrounds. That's about it.
Councillor Jackson?
Has there been any talk about moving the smoking bins or the cigarette bins further away from the buildings and where they presently are? Like at the rink, I noticed years ago for the last time, it was just right outside the building, and now you have to be, 20 or 30 meters away from the entrance where there's children, so it might need to be moved.
Sure.
That might need to be addressed as well. And perhaps somebody from the health unit can come and talk to the recreation or yourselves so that it's clear on what the requirement is.
Yeah, Councillor Jackson, I was just informed about the outdoor rinks, ball diamonds, playgrounds. I have to do a lot of further research into this to find out just, what has to happen. It was kind of just, here's some signs, put them up. There's a lot more. I have to find out a lot more information about it.
Councillor Jackson?
Well, I hate to see those cigarette butt holders moved, because then we're just going to have there is some sort of requirements that if it's there, then they will be smoking close to it. It's going to be difficult to place those anywhere on the property within, from what I understand, to be far enough away from the entrances and the play areas. Good luck.
Thanks, Steve. Oh, Dave, Councillor McCall.
I just want to mention that guys at Beachburg Rink mentioned to me to tell you guys that don't put any signs on Beachburg Fair property.
Well, I will.
Because they're smoking on, the rink is on Beachburg Fair property. I said, well, smoke under the rink, guys, but they won't. But anyways, they wanted to tell me to tell you that.
I'm going to do as the county instructed.
It's probably an Ontario statute being led by the county. It probably has to do with every building we own.
Yep, it does.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Fire Department. Any questions for Wayne from council? Councillor McLaughlin.
What is a barrel burn?
Somebody in the village or hamlet of Westmeath lit a barrel on fire and then left for the evening. And the neighbors called it in, and we were very close to having a shed on fire. They were burning it illegally. So we've addressed that. We've talked with the bylaw people, and we're still working on that one. It wasn't just one barrel. They have a number of barrels burning. Various items there because of what it was, the contents they were burning.
Councillor Jackson.
Would there be charges?
There will be
pending?
charges. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor McLaughlin.
It's something I think that needs to come up maybe because it's not only in Westmeath. I've had complaints in the Forster Falls area as well. So I think it needs maybe to be brought up, Wayne, maybe if the chair, on one of the upcoming fire.
We are looking at several items. Especially in the country, there are a significant amount of burn barrels. But it's the contents. They don't want to go to the dump. So they're burning a lot of plastics, and that was the issue in Westmeath, was plastics.
Thank you. We had addressed this in last year's revision of the burn bylaw, but I think like many of our front burner issues at the moment, that there's an education piece, Wayne, that we need to have a look at committee in making sure that the community is aware of what's in that bylaw, what's acceptable. Certainly burning plastics in 2015 is not, and I think that needs to be reviewed, and the reasons behind.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was just going to suggest as well, that I think there is an education process here. But I think once we have that education process, and if this continues, I think somehow we need to perhaps look at recouping those costs if the fire department is called out and people are aware that it isn't illegal, that perhaps we can start recouping those costs, and that may deter people from thinking on striking a match.
I agree. Deputy Chief Moore and myself and the senior staff are looking at the idea of cost recovery. As you can see by the number of calls, like Captain Terry Moore informs about his fire prevention is working. The fires are down, but there are still going to be a number of what we term nonsense calls. But burn barrels are very serious because they are burning toxic wastes.
Councillor McLaughlin.
I think where my thought wasn't what's being burnt, it's where. Because this was not, and that is in our bylaws, and this is something that we have discussed. And there are areas where they're permitted, and there's areas where they're not permitted. And if my mind is correct, this is an area where not only is the contents not the proper contents, the area is one of the areas where there is not supposed to be a burn barrel on my.
That's correct.
And that's what I think needs to be brought up. It's not what they're burning, It's what they're burning as well as where they're burning.
I agree.
Thank you. I'm hoping that when people go to our webpage tomorrow, there will be a large number of people that see the concerns, and I think this recording visually our council meetings just might help us to sell some of these requirements for people. Burning plastics it's just not acceptable. You're close to people, especially in a village. You're close to people, and you're killing your neighbors. So why do you want to kill your neighbors? They're not that bad.
I think too, Mayor, and the press are here, and they can quote me on this. When we do look at some of the barrels, I notice a number of batteries. You know, the little AAAs. If we were to bring the environment people in, there's a heavy fine. People need to be aware of that.
Yes.
And when I see batteries, I don't hesitate. We will call. That is highly illegal and a very heavy fine by the federal people and provincial. And there's a number of burn barrels that we have noticed batteries in them. AAA, AAAs, yeah. And if we do see them, we confiscate it right away. Goes into the. So we're working, myself and Deputy Chief, I should say, Mike Moore. We're visiting the bylaw, and we're looking at several areas of maybe strengthen that too.
I think a lot of this is just common sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all it is. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you very much to our department heads. Okay, I actually didn't get to read it yet. I apologize, I did not get a chance to read this. It came late. Are there any questions? Very well done, Terry. Nobody has questions for Terry? Reeve? Terry? Moved by Darrell McLaughlin, seconded by Chris Olmsted, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region receives and files the following department reports: Public Works, Building Department, Environmental Services, Fire Department, CEO, and Reeve. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Moved by Darrell McLaughlin, seconded by Chris Olmsted. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region adopt the minutes of the Council in committee meetings of February 4th and February 12th, 2015. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? You have a question. All right, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Approval of committee from February 18th. On February 18th from the 12th and the 4th. Moved by Charlene Jackson, seconded by Chris Olmsted, be it resolved that the Environmental Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends to Council that it approve the engineering and contract administration proposal presented by JP2G Consulting for the 2015 cast-in-place pipe repair project. All those, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Okay, I was just wondering, that's pre-done. We're going to take a short break.